Provided by the Annenberg CPB Project and the Ford Foundation. Additional funding by the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Arthur Vining Davis Foundations.
4-6, get that motor set up on the hill. I want fire in 1 minute. All right, I need a perimeter set up here, quick. Oh, man. Oh, okay. I knew they were going to get us to the... God damn.
58,000 Americans died in the Vietnam War. Even today, few Americans understand why. Officially, it was a war against international communism. In fact, Americans collided with a much older force, the force of nationalism. To understand the power of nationalism is to know the story of two men who led the fight for independence in Asia. The Vietnamese revolutionary Ho Chi Minh and Indonesia's founding father, Sukarno. They destroyed forever the myth of Western supremacy. And from ancient cultures and traditions, they forged new nations.
Alhamdulillah, sekarang di halaman ini telah berkibar sang Dwi Warna.
By the end of the 19th century, much of Asia was ruled by European powers. Indo-China was a French colony. And the Dutch ruled Indonesia, known then as the East Indies. For the people of the East Indies, freedom from the Dutch began with an ancient myth. For over 2,000 years in the shadow puppet play called Wayang Kulit, they have relived the ancient combats of the Mahabharata, an epic tale of a virtuous family's struggle to cast out evil invaders from their land. But by the early 20th century, the shadow battles of the Wayang Kulit had become symbolic wars of liberation against the hated Dutch. It was in 1596 that Dutch warships first appeared among the 14,000 islands known today as Indonesia, a vast archipelago stretching 3,000 miles from the Indian Ocean to Australia's Great Barrier Reef. In these East Indies, as they called them, the Dutch discovered the treasure they had sailed so far to find. Years ago, before refrigeration, nutmeg's power to preserve meat and improve its flavor made it as important to the European economy as oil is today. Dutch businessmen made huge fortunes meeting the demand for nutmeg in the West. By the early 20th century, the Dutch discovered much more than nutmeg. There was rich volcanic soil to grow coffee, sugar, and tea. There was oil, minerals, and lumber. And to harvest these riches, there was Indonesian labor.
May not a man in Europe do what he likes with his cattle? Even so does a master here do with his men. For these and all that belong to them are as much the property of the master as our brute beasts.
So boasted one of the first governors of the Dutch East Indies in 1600. By the 20th century, little had changed.